We'll open with a moment of silence, followed by the pledge, please. You. I.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
My brother, who's a Catholic priest, would be very happy that I have had moments of prayer. And he was also or he still is a Marine, because once you're a Marine, always Marine, pledging the flag twice. Okay, let's see. Public comment on agenda items only.
Explaining that. Okay, great.
Okay. With that, can we go to Jennifer Barclay, please?
Morning.
Good morning.
Commissioners prepare to adopt the 2026 budget for Monroe County in the amount of $151.5 million, including a general fund budget of $89.2 million. The county millage rate remains unchanged at 5.4773 mils. Just under 90% will be utilized for general purposes, and the balance will be used to satisfy our debt service obligation, which increases in 2026 by $555,000. As stated in the budget presentation, non-union employees will receive increases on their anniversary date and will be based on their time and position. A new longevity policy will go into effect January 1st for the non-union employees. As was with the prior, the first $250 is paid at year 5. And then annual payments for years 6 through 9 will be increased each year by $25 until year 10, when the longevity bonus will be increased by $150 to $500. Annual payments for years 11 through 14 will be increased each year by $25 until year 15, when it will be increased by $150 to $750. Year 16 through 19 will increase by $25 until year 20, when it will be increased by $150 to the maximum of $1,000. From then on, subsequent longevity bonuses of $1,000 will be paid every 5 years through year 40. Since presenting the 2026 proposed budget, there was a slight change to one of the new positions approved in court administration, but the total number of positions has remained unchanged. There were no changes to the long-term debt obligation, employee healthcare contributions, or annual retirement contributions since the presentation. The computer capital is now $337,970, a reduction of $6,240. This amount is for 2 high-capacity multi-purpose copiers, which are leased from an outside financing company and now part of the court's operating expense budget. Capital equipment is now $372,530, an increase of $72,600. There is one addition to court administration and one carryover for the Office of Emergency Management. The budgets for capital projects and the county's capital reserve fund remain at the presented combined total of $8,752,623, with no changes to the items listed in that section on page 1. There were also no changes to the grant revenue section since the budget presentation. If you go to page 2, you can see the highlights for the revisions to the budget. It is a net decrease in the general fund of $126,655. The top section shows the changes to revenues. The increase was for additional award for the mosquito-borne disease control grant of $5,728. And revenue decreases include a small reduction in the reimbursement from the Conservation District, for wages and benefits and a decrease in the contribution from the general fund due to changes in budgeted wages and benefits, including personnel agendas since the budget presentation. The bottom section of the page 2 shows the expense changes. The increases include the increases in courts for capital of $3,600, photocopy for $6,300, and additional grant expenses in adult probation for $10,665. That was a correction from the presentation. A net increase in the court's wages and benefits in the amount of $13,777 in both court admin and MDJ admin. $69,000 in the Office of Emergency Management for the carryover of the capital that I just spoke about. $9,108 for a replacement vehicle lease for the coroner's office. $5,302 in additional county contribution for changes in wages and benefits in the Office of Domestic Relations. $5,909 in operating and project expenditures for various departments, mainly public liability and the increase for county deductibles. And the last increase was the $5,728 mosquito-borne disease control grant award revision. Expense decreases include $133,355 in the county contingency for changes in approved personnel, contracted services, as well as wages and benefits that have been allocated to various courts departments for changes in hours for residual employees. $6,240 in computer capital for the copiers, moving that out of the computer capital IT department's budget, and $116,449 in wages and benefits for various departments for personnel agendas since the presentation. So the total budget that the commissioners are planning to adopt in today's meeting is $650,210 more than the budget they presented on November 26th. In addition to the changes I've just explained in the general fund, for a decrease of $126,655, other funds had increases, including $15,003 in wages and benefits for domestic relations and $761,862 in children and youth for an adjustment to their 2026-2027 needs-based budget. Enough. Any questions for me?
Are there any questions?
I still don't understand the longevity. This is a dumb question. So at 5 years, you get 250. At 6 years, you get another 25 or you get 275. So each year
25 is
it's
added.
going up. So you're getting 250, 275, 300. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Anything else?
I love your presentation. Thank you so much. What I do, see here is I see what you're spending, but I'm not seeing what you're receiving and from whom you're receiving it from. For example, we have this budget of your expenditures, right? Adopt the budget, approving the changes. And all this money, but like where's the fact of who's paying for this? Here, yeah. Let's start spending.
So I don't know if this answers your question or not, but on pages 9 and 10, there's the uses of tax dollars. It kind of shows what is supported for those departments by the general fund and tax support versus grants and other sources. I don't know if that would give you any kind of more information.
I really love it. I just love numbers. But I mean, it can be, I can calculate it. 54% is what you're saying, and that's from the end of the whole budget that you present now, like 54% of that, all the money of the expenditures you. Let's say like on page 5, that's real estate taxes pay for 54.6%.
Correct.
If I just calculate it, then I'll know what that number.
I'm sorry, what page were you on?
Oh, like like 5, page 5, when you said.
In other words, if you take the total budget and you take 54.6% of it, then that's the amount of
that's supported through real estate taxes.
Correct.
Sorry.
You can always see me. if you
Yeah,
need-
it's just like those calculations I would like to make the calculation. I don't mind doing them.
I'm available after the meeting if you want
This
to.
page breaks down the real estate. It's page 11, it says 70.
And the other revenues, because I don't think,
Well, licensing and permits, grants and reimbursements.
so do you know exactly who was, so, do you know exactly who's creating the impact or the demand on our services?
Sure. I mean, it's, you just look at the costs. We have a grant here by function,
Because I
6.
calculated about 65 to 80% is our jails, right? Like our corrections, health and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken. I mean, I'm just like,
Corrections is 16%. 16% roughly is corrections.
with my research, because I'm such a research guru. So when you have that, I saw that it was like 65. So I guess my question is, after, like, we know this, we know where it's coming from. But not specifically like exactly, because if you have our jails, you know, we have that big expenditure of our jails and healthcare and all that. So who exactly has, I mean, because I will have to go to every precinct to see who has the most highest, you know, arrest rate, right? So I'll go to, I guess, Pocono Regional, see what their report says about arrest. Just that impact. I'm just looking for the impact because this demand is so strong. I'm trying to help to reduce that. And the way we can reduce is if we're aware of it and there's data available for us so that we can analyze this as the public or as policymakers to be able to give real concrete solutions. It's not assumptions, right? So like, if there is like a real big crisis, maybe, with that data, we can see, oh man, there's so many arrests in this township. What's going on? Is it that we need, more services in XYZ, to help this, the impact to help, because it's just like a trickle down effect. And we're just getting obliterated here in Monroe County with that, with the jail system and all that. So I figured if you guys know that information already, I would love the data, because I can't hold.
Anna, you're in the school board,
That's
you
why.
see- No, but I'm just saying, but you see the PAYS study, correct? You see all the results of the PAYS study, which looks back at the kids that are in your schools. You see how many kids are dealing with problems at your school. Then you also see what, children and youth are doing in your schools. I mean, we have probation officers in schools. We have everybody in schools so that we can try to stop this from increasing as we go along. We're spending money all the way around just to reduce the recidivism, to reduce the people that are going to jail. We have a fixed number that, if there are 5 people in the jail, or not 5, but let's say 100, our numbers in the jail are way down right now. But we still have fixed costs because we still have to operate the jail. Okay, you still have to have segregation, and each, there are fixed costs that we have to deal with all the time. And we have a whole bunch of information, and this is the end result. Okay, the jail is one thing, then we have the courts that have to hear everything. We have the district attorney's office, we have the public defender's office, we have, everything else that's where all our money goes to.
Yeah.
If you look to see all this stuff.
Delay in the judicial, then you have
Right.
managers after.
Sure. Then you have all the appeals and then everything else. Of which we live in America and it's a great society, and unfortunately it costs us to do these things.
So like me serving on the school board, there was, issues with, like, let's say attendance. And we said, well, why is there such an issue with attendance? What can we do to solve this? And we, at school board, we sat down, cranked things through, and we said, okay, maybe we build this building of wellness, because we said there's lots of reasons why kids don't go to
Sure.
school, right? So the major problem that we saw was that kids are going to, like, physical therapy a lot. Can we bring the wellness into our school system to help bridge that gap where the kids can go to physical therapy while they're in school for that 1 hour and then go right back?
Right, but then also look, were you in the school districts during COVID? Were you a school director then? Well, then what happened is that there was truancy problems. And there's truancy problems. Who do they report it to? Children and youth. Then our children and youth numbers go way up because of that. Okay, so and we're always budgeting, okay, on last year or the previous year's budgets, usage of children and youth. So if you have a sudden spike, you don't have the money to cover it except from the county. Okay,
So what you see, we went to solve the problem, we built a building to help bridge that gap, so it wouldn't go down the pipeline down to where, because we're thinking and we're innovating,
right.
but you really can't do that without the data, without coming down and sitting. So that's what was my question, is more of
Please, Dave.
all that.
Well, just to clarify, Jen Barclay is our fiscal director, very smart woman, does a great job for us, but she's not going to know crime statistics and that's not her purview. So, but we do have a criminal justice advisory board that produces a lot of data. The DA is here, he co-chairs that, or is assistant chair, I guess, or
Co-chair.
Yeah, co-chair. And yeah, vice chair. So,
Co-chair is.
Yeah. right. So those are, well, two good boards that we have where they can provide this data that you're looking for, but you're not going Yeah.
Ma'am, the county, at least for the last 2 years, since I've been DA, for sure, maybe even before that. So I think CIT started in 2022, as a concept at least, has really gotten together all the different divisions, all the different row offices that are involved, and the courts and the commissioners, and really are doing a deep dive on these statistics. They're not easy to come by. For instance, in reentry, we don't have a comprehensive definition of recidivism. And we're in the process, but the government had been shut down for a while. So all of that steps through the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, we were going to apply for a grant to get a doctor named Orth to compile the records and come up with what is the actual recidivist rate in the Monroe County Correctional Facilities. That's just one example of many ongoing process. But I can say now that if you took a snapshot in time of the current jail population and you said, all right, what percentage of these folks have been in that jail before, it would be upwards of 77, 78%. So the commissioners and my office and probation department and other court facilities, we're all working together to combat that end of the process, the reoffending end. I do it too with the Law Enforcement Treatment Initiative, and the commissioners have been great on that in helping to fund that. The fellow here to my right is Stan Lewandowski. He works closely with my office, but he's actually an employee of Carbon Monroe Pike Drug and Alcohol. And every week he comes in my office, he screens all the cases that are going to preliminary hearings to see which ones might be diverted away from the criminal justice system directly into treatment. We look at chronic, nonviolent offenders where there's an addiction component. So there's a lot of things in effect now to break the old model and work together. And I think it's coming together wonderful. So, but if you want those stats, and if you went to the different police departments, even they would be hard pressed to give them to you. It's all a work in progress right now.
Yeah. And in their reports that I get, that is publicly available, is there, but yeah, of course, that's why I'm here
Yeah.
kind of complaining.
I hear you.
Because, you can't create a policy or look at things without hard, concrete evidence. I can't just assume this is what's going on. I need to know what's going on. There's a big difference between the two.
And everything we're doing is data driven. That's what
Yeah.
we're decided.
Take the first, right?
Is there any other questions?
Thank you.
We're going to go to new business with the adoption of the 2026 county millage rate as follows. 4.9177 for general purpose. 0.5596 for debt service obligation and 5.4773 total county millage rate for 2026. Is there a motion, please?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Adoption of the 2026 Eastern Monroe Public Library millage rates at 0.185914 mils. Is there a motion, please? Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Adoption of the 2026 budget in the amount of $561,209. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any questions?
One question I have. And forgive me for my ignorance on this point, because I have been involved with this body in revised efforts on a full-time drug task force. I don't see it specified.
It is not specified. That's correct.
Um,
There is an alternative route that we might discuss, but
Okay,
but we do not feel at this time that we have all the things that we need to be placed in a row for it to go forward on we would like to, we'll have another discussion with you on how we might like to see it. Okay? So it is not included. David, you had
Oh, I was
something?
just gonna make a comment that,
Please.
while I appreciate that we're not increasing the millage rate and taxes this year, I do think we need to make a better effort to control spending. And, we did have many workshops on the budget and there were some expenditures that I didn't approve. Again, I think we need to be watching that closely because every year is another opportunity that we might have to increase revenues if our expenses keep growing. And so I will be voting no on the budget itself.
Very good. So we made a first and a second, correct? We're going to call a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Very good. Adoption of the 2026 liquid fuels budget, the amount of $467,500. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Are there any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Is there anything else? Motion to adjourn? We are then. Thank you.